Well, hello, everyone. This is Carrie Beck with How to Homeschool My Child. You are here to learn more about 4 steps in raising Christian leaders in your homeschool. And so, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know that y'all are busy. Um, I really want to help you gain confidence to know you're doing enough in your homeschool. So, we are diving right in. Y'all are here. We're going to get started. If I can get the thing to move. There we go. Today, what I want to show you is exactly how you can go from feeling scattered, overwhelmed, and worried about doing enough in your homeschool to feeling focused and intentional with your kids' education. Because then, if you can feel focused and intentional, you start to experience some peace and confidence that you really are offering the best education possible as you raise them to be Christian leaders who can impact and influence those around you. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Are y'all as excited as I am? If so, leave a yes in the chat. That would be awesome. I will tell you that by the end of our time together, I hope that you will see what the major shift is that moms need to make to go beyond the conveyor belt of schools and give their kids the ability to influence others for Jesus. And the number one area to build in your children year after year. This will carry them from life, giving them a foundation to influence others for Jesus, lead their family in the future, and where to start with young kids. A lot of times people think leadership education, that's for teenagers. Actually, I believe you need to start with young kids. So we're going to hit it. And Carrie, Rachel, Michelle, and Heather, thank you for being as excited as I am. We're going to talk about the most simple and effective way to inspire a love of learning. It is so simple, it hardly takes any thought whatsoever, but it is super effective in getting your kids to enjoy learning. Quit letting them be bored and do something different. And this is something you can do with multiple ages. We'll talk about the single most effective way to develop critical thinking skills. This is so easy too, because you can use it in any subject area to encourage your kids to be able to think and make wise decisions. And then throughout the entire presentation, I will share some of my own real life examples of Christian leadership education. Hopefully they will inspire you and help you double down on what strategy you need to use in 2023. Now, I will tell you, if you've gotten some emails, you know that I have a fast action bonus. So if you stay with me until the end, decide to work with me in raising your kids to lead, I'm going to give you the opportunity to get your hands on a special bonus I added to my Raising Leaders course. I'll give you all the details at the end of class. In addition to that, I have some giveaways. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to give away a copy of my ebook, Verses and Prayers to Pray for Your Children. And this is something that you can print out, cut the little strips. There's like 4 or 5 to a page. Put them in your car, near your kitchen sink, the bathroom window, mirror, wherever. And they will just be reminders and actual verses that you can pray to God about your children. Amy, I'm glad you're excited to be here. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Finally, if you can reduce the distractions, I know that is not always very easy with children, but turn off the cell phone if you're not watching on the cell phone. Shut down all the windows, the extra tabs on your computer that can bounce you off. Close the extra devices, and if possible at all, shut your door. I know that's not really possible with kids, but I always include it anyway. Hey, if you haven't gotten the handout, it is written right there on the screen, howtohomeschoolmychild.com/4 steps handout, and that will let you just follow through the presentation today, the class, so that you have everything that you need. So let's have fun today. We are going to start with a really fun activity that's one of my favorites. And I'll try one more time. Nope. So let's just move on. Warren Bennis, I don't know if he's a believer or not, or where he comes from, but he is an expert in leadership. He says successful leadership is not about being tough or soft, sensitive or assertive, but about a set of attributes. First and foremost is character. This is so true. Character is really foundational if you're raising your kids. If you're homeschooling, I always say, if you have a teenager that doesn't have good character, you need to go back and deal with that before you keep moving with academics. Character is what will carry them for the rest of their lives. So let's have a little fun. I'm going to give you a quick little challenge, and you can let me know in the chat if you are willing to do this. We're going to have a little post-it party. And here's what we're going to do. I would like to challenge you to, not right now, but when this is over, find a post-it, one for each child, put their name on it. And then I want you to think of a character quality that you would like to work on over the summertime. And I don't know if you're a person of faith or not, but I'm a person of faith. And so I sort of put everything in Bible terms. And then I would put a Bible verse that goes along with that character quality. Do one for each and every one of your children. And it might look something like this. All right, John needs to learn to obey a little better. And I've picked the verse, Ephesians 6:1, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Sarah is a grump. She needs to be more thankful. So I picked Psalm 50:23, the one who offers thanksgiving as his sacrifice honors me. Now, these are makeup children. I'll introduce my kids in a little bit, but they're 30 to 35 years old. I just want to give you an example of what to do. This would be really the challenge, the post-it party challenge. If you're willing to do this and do this for each of your children, put a yes in the chat. Every time you leave a comment, you are entered to win one of my Prayers for Kids ebook. Now, if you want bonus points on your post-it party, you would also write a blessing when they do it and a consequence beforehand. Because if you decide it beforehand, then you can be consistent. You are consistent child to child, and you can be consistent with you and your husband. Wow, we got tons of yeses. Thank y'all for doing this. I think this is just such a great idea. I personally wish someone had shared this with me. What I would do for each child is take them individually and talk to them and tell them, hey, you know what? I think over the summer, we'd like to work on being obedient. And this is the reason, because God tells us that children obey their parents in the Lord, for this is right. You can read more verses if you need to, but just focus on one. And then tell them, what I'd like you to do is to write this verse on an index card and every morning read it out loud to yourself at breakfast. I would also encourage them to memorize it. If I were you, I would memorize it myself. So that is something super simple. It will encourage character quality in your kids. It will encourage consistency within your family, and it will use the Bible to be able to focus on what God says is the right kind of character as well. We got lots of yeses. Thank you very much. Because I was going to say, if you're willing to commit to this, find one Bible verse, leave it in the chat. Y'all are on top of things. So that's our quick little fun win, I personally think. Now, you are in the right place if you happen to be a stay-at-home mom who's homeschooling multiple ages. I know some of y'all are that, or maybe you just have only child, but you still have to cook, clean, chauffeur, and all those other tasks. You're following the school model and it isn't working. You're overwhelmed, need a new direction. You feel like you're doing too much. There's not even time to cook some days. Or maybe you're a working mom trying to balance all your home and homeschool duties. Whether you're working at home or outside the home, you're looking for ways to manage your time and give your children the best education possible. Maybe you're a Christian parent who wants Jesus to be the center of your family and your homeschool, but you are stressed out, especially with your kids' attitude. Maybe you just want a better education for your kids. Or I will tell you, we have got many grandmas in my group, and they are responsible for their grandkids' education. You might be a grandma. I don't know if you know, but last week we started a boot camp and I've been teaching in it. And out of, let's say, about 20 people, at least two of them are grandmas in that group. So that is not a far-fetched idea. What I'd love for you to do is put something in the chat and let me know which one of these describe you, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I would sort of like to know who we're talking to as well. I will tell you, as you do that, no matter which describes you, I support you, and I believe I've got ideas that can help you as well. Now, some of you maybe, I don't know. So let me just know where you are and which one of these you are. Let's see. Oh, you're not seeing a slide. Great. Oh, the slide disappeared. Yep, it did disappear. Those tech issues. Okay, can y'all see that now? If you can see the screen now, let me know. Okay, now y'all can. Thank you for putting some in the chat. I am trying to watch it. It is sometimes hard to watch and talk all at the same time. Okay, so we've got some homeschool moms and people that can see it. All right, perfect. And we've got stay-at-home moms, all different ones. And we've got attitudes. Yeah, I got that. Thank you for letting me know. I think that was Jennifer who said that at the beginning. I appreciate it. Oh, we got new messages. Okay, lots of number ones. 4 boys. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's keep going, see if I can get this going. Okay, we've got that. Now, you may be going, who in the world are you? I know some of my friends invited y'all to this class. So let me introduce myself and then we're going to dive into the content. The reason I want to introduce my family is I think it's important that you have sort of have a know who we are, because I'm going to be telling some stories, real life stories. Right here, this is Ashley, our oldest, and she's married to Jesse. They have Elizabeth and Faith. On Saturday, I went to their dance recitals, all 3 of them. Yes, about 3 or 4 hours worth of dance recitals. Hey, they live in Austin. Ashley is our oldest. She was willing to do things outside the box. In fact, she was given a worksheet in 4th grade. We actually started homeschooling when she was in 5th grade. This is one of the reasons. And the question, they had a picture at the top and a sentence or 2 at the bottom. Why is George Washington a believer? And she said, I don't know if he's ever trusted Jesus as his savior. The teacher gave it back, said, no, you need to write a different answer. And so she did write something else similar. And the teacher gave it back. And I said, Ashley, let's just write what the teacher wants. Just tell him it's because he gave the pews. Okay, giving the pews is a picture, it's an outcome of being a believer, but that isn't the reason that someone is a believer. At a very young age, she was thinking critically. She started her own business in high school with my husband, Steve. She got a college degree in a year and a half. And she continues to be a leader at her church. This is Gentry, our middle daughter. She's married to Andrew. They have Landry and Deacon, who is always making some cute face. Gentry's more of just a natural leader. Her friends followed her on a regular basis. In high school, she played with the public schools, softball and basketball, and she won the Bear Award for each of those sports, which is voted on by the kids and the coaches as well. So she has some natural ability. Hunter is the baby of the family. They're all 30 to 35 years old. He was always asking questions, even 12 and 13 years old with friends at the table. He would ask, I don't know what that word means. And here, I would have never done that. I was too scared and embarrassed to do that. But he didn't care. He wanted to learn. He always wanted to know. He would raise his hands at the table when the girls were talking because he couldn't get a word in edgewise. Now, that's who they are now. Growing up, we homeschooled for 10 years. We had many ups and downs. And when I started homeschooling, I had a very haphazard approach. I was trying to figure it all out between Charlotte Mason and classical and unit studies. What do I follow? About 5 years into it, I discovered leadership education, but it wasn't from a Christian perspective. And the women I was working with would not read the material because of that. And so I started figuring it out on my own and developing my own plans. Again, lots of ups and downs. Since that time, I've probably worked with 30 to 32,000 homeschool moms in the area of leadership education. I don't want you to have those ups and downs. I want to help you so you don't need to figure it out all by yourself. Let me pull one more thing up so I can sort of see. Okay, there we go. Trying to keep the chat and the participants, and I can't see my slides. That's okay. All right. So they are all leaders. Hunter leads his teams at his work. Gentry works part-time at a Chick-fil-A, running catering and social media or advertising, and leads those teams. Ashley is the children's director at her church, leading that as well. Now, here is a more current picture just 2 months ago. The kids have gotten a little bigger. Yes, and of course, Deacon is not looking at the camera. That's how little kids are. All right, they have made me sort of go back into homeschooling and remember what it was like to have them, especially in April when I had 8 straight days of babysitting. But let's move on and let's talk about something. I want you to think for a second. Can you imagine what it would be like to enjoy homeschooling together without all the attitude from your kids, to grow relationships with your kids instead of putting out fires, to have the peace and confidence that what you're doing is enough and the right activities, to have a clear picture of where you're headed. If you could think about what that would be like, leave some in the chat and tell me what it would be like if you did that. Because as we go through this presentation, I believe I'm going to want to help you raise your children to be leaders for Jesus that will influence and impact others for the rest of their lives. And I believe when you raise your kids to be leaders, you gain freedom in you, your kids, and your homeschool. So we want to be able to offer you that. I'm going to show you some ways that you can be able to study whatever is most important to you. Now, if you're like me, some of you are like, okay, but tell me where we're going. I will give you a quick little roadmap. We're going to talk about 3 possible education models for your kids. We're going to talk about 4 steps to raising Christian leaders. And the biggest mistake that moms make, this is sometimes the best part of the entire thing. So I was looking to see who responded. Okay, Sarah, you were the first person to respond. That would be amazing and peaceful. If you would send me your email address, I will give you one of the books that we are giving away, which is Verses to Pray for Your Kids. It's an ebook. So that would be awesome to know as well. Okay, we got that down. So let's get going. This is a comment made in 1909. And I'd like you to think about it. 1909, we want one class of people to have a liberal education. What's liberal education to y'all? If you tell me what you think of when you hear the word liberal education, because this person wants one, and I'll tell you, big class to have a liberal education. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So tell me what you think it is. We want another class, he wants a very small class to have liberal education. We want a very much larger class of necessity to forgo the privilege of a liberal education and fit themselves to perform specific difficult manual tasks. All right, Michelle says freedom of choice, liberal education touching on lots of subjects, sounds like non-Christian education, not restricted by what kids pass a test. Now that's a good answer. Rhonda, I've never heard that. I'm going to give you one of those books too. Not restricted by what kids pass a test, all encompassing. Y'all have got some great answers. Let's think about the word liberal. What does it come from? It comes from the word liberate. And what does liberate mean? Free, freedom. We want one small class to have a free education. They would have freedom in their lives, but we need another class much larger to not have the privilege of that freedom, liberal education, because liberal means to liberate them from the teacher. They have the freedom and know how to study for themselves. They have tools of learning. They love learning. And we need that large class to do specific difficult manual tasks. This was right on the heels of the Industrial Revolution, who was pouring billions of dollars into the school system because they needed followers, they needed workers, they did not need people who could think for themselves. Who in the world made this comment? Well, I'm glad you asked. Oh, Woodrow Wilson. At the time, he was president of Princeton. Then he became president of the United States. It didn't happen overnight, but I will tell you right now, it took several decades, but they have been very good at this because our public schools raise kids to get jobs. And that is basically all it is. Squeezing kids into specific molds. Yes, that is so true, and not their individuality. So let's move on and talk about 3 types of education and see what happened as a result of Woodrow Wilson's comment. 3 possible models of education. The first one is the conveyor belt education. This teaches kids how to follow and not to lead, and basically what to think. They all get on stage 1. They all do the same activities. They're tested the same way, and they go to stage 2, all same activities, tested the same way. 3, all the way down to station 4. Station 12. At station 12, they get a stamp of approval and they are sent to the job market. That's what the public schools are, 12 stations, 12 years. This is very successful in teaching kids how to follow and not to lead, to be compliant, to get the basics, to get a job, mostly just uses textbooks and does not incorporate many thinking skills. The next type is professional education, and this teaches when to think. For instance, you go to a trade school, an auto mechanic school, and you learn that when the car goes clunk, 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 you do this. Or you go to med school and someone comes in and says, it's hurting right here, and you do this. They are learning how to deal when this happens, you do this. Now, I'm not comparing a car to a human being in value. I'm just saying that that is the type of professional education. This develops careers. They become an expert in an area and eventually will retire as well. Then the last one is leadership education. This is teaching how to think. We're going to spend the whole rest of the time talking about that, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but this is where we raise our kids to be leaders and own something, to take ownership in their lives, to take ownership in their families and their marriages. And this can be leaders in politics, family, community, businesses, and it uses the classics really to be able to do that. We'll talk about classics in a minute. So my question to you is, which type of education would you like for your children? And as you enter that, I will talk to you for a moment about ownership, that I think you can do this even in school, because our kids in high school got to decide what subject areas they were going to study. Or do you tell your high schoolers what they're going to study? Because in ninth grade, my kids took a humanities class, and after that, everything else was what they got to decide. Ashley never finished algebra 2. She got a college degree in a year and a half and then got a teaching certificate with at-risk kids. Ashley and Gentry took an astronomy course because that's what they wanted to take in high school. We allowed them to lead in their education. We allowed them to take ownership in their education. It looks like most people do want leadership. I have a few people say other things. So let's move in to a question, and then we'll go to our 4 steps. How does a generation who was not mentored in leadership education give this type of education to the next generation? How do you and I, who know the conveyor belt so well, give our kids a leadership education? It's something we really need to consider. Are you willing to hop off that conveyor belt and do something different? Not for different sake, but different because it is better for your children. And what they are doing is only teaching them what to think. But then you may be going, well, how do I hop off that conveyor belt with all that curriculum to complete? What if I mess them up trying to balance life and family and homeschooling and work and COVID and all the clutter around my house? I need to clean, cook. I'm overwhelmed. Let's talk about this instead of curriculum, instead of education, academics. Let's talk about it as a lifestyle for you. And I really believe that's what we ended up doing. This was a lifestyle that just sort of was pervasive through our whole family, whether it was sitting around the dinner table and allowing them to discuss and give opinions, or sitting in the living room and reading aloud and talking about that. It is a lifestyle. It's not something you need to add more things to. And Doris, I just really want to honor you for being so transparent, for saying that you're lost. And that's how I taught. I would like to give you one of those books. And if you want to send me your email, that would be awesome. But that's how I felt. I have a master's in education. I taught public school for 6 years. I could read those scope and sequences up, down, sideways. I had to rethink. And that's what I want to do right now, is let's talk about some ways that you can rethink about education. Oh, and this is Laura. This is one of my leadership students from last year. And she, in a Facebook party we were having, said, Carrie, your course completely changed my mindset, our homeschool routine, and my kids are loving their new teacher. And I was just like, oh, thank you. That was so encouraging. But she was willing to hop off that conveyor belt and do something different. And she followed the plan that we were giving her as well. So, all right, 4 steps of Christian leadership. Let's get into number 1, which is righteous for a foundation of character. I've already said I'm a person of faith. And so I am going to put everything into the Bible. I believe we need to teach our kids righteous character that comes from the Bible. One place we can do that is the armor of God. If you are standing for God, if your family is following God, you have a target on your front and the enemy is attacking you. You need to put the armor of God on every day. It's in Ephesians 6. And I would encourage you to pray it every single morning for your kids, even in bed before. I used to do it in bed before I ever got up. And so that is one thing I would encourage you to do. And you get dressed every morning. I don't think any of you go outside without clothes, but do you go outside without God's clothes, without God's armor? So first thing is we need to know what righteous character is, and we need to put on the armor of God. So yes, I agree with you. The next thing is we need to raise our kids to be servants, to serve others, because who is the greatest? Who's the greatest leader of all times? You can put that in the chat. All right. Yeah, well, Mersha, I've gone outside without God's clothes so many times. Yeah, Jesus Christ is the best leader. And how did he lead? He led as a servant. Hunter won the Classroom Champion Award when he was a senior in high school. Our TV channel every week would choose someone in sports that was a leader, and they would interview him and do a little segment on him. And one of his teachers nominated Hunter for this Classroom Champion. And when they were interviewing Hunter, one of the questions was, how do you lead your team? Because he played football and basketball and all. He said, I serve the other guys on my team. That's how I lead them. That's what we want. We want our kids to serve. So look for ways that they could serve in your home, maybe doing some chores, maybe serving a sibling, or look for ways that you as a family could serve outside, maybe even taking a meal to shut in or someone that's had surgery, and let your kids make some cookies for them. They participate by making the cookies and getting in the car and taking them to them. And you start to teach them what it is like to serve others. I could go on and on about this, but I gotta keep going because I could give you stories of my grandkids and everything. But teach your kids to serve. When we can get out of that mindset of entitlement and get them to think of others, that will make a difference. And you need to use scripture. Use God's rules for the character that you are building in them. They need to know that, like when they lie or they're arguing, go find a verse and read it to them and say, what does God say about arguing? And let them answer. As they get older, I'm talking like 11, 12, 13 and up, and they're arguing, maybe give them a list of 10 arguing verses. Say, I want you to look up 2 or 3 of these and come back and tell me, write something down for each one that you read and tell me what God says. This is taking it off of your shoulders and putting it on God's shoulders. And I think that is so, so important. We do have these character charts. They're following God charts. There's 3 of them. Each one of them have 6 different character qualities. You can see make peace, verse, space for you to write the blessing when someone makes peace, argue, verse, space for consequence. You can print these out, use them, print new ones out or laminate them and use a dry erase marker. But this allows you the opportunity to think ahead of time what the blessing is and the consequence for each one of these. That way you can become more consistent. It's like the post-it party at the beginning of the class, but it's all written there on a chart. And so I believe it's so important that our kids know we are not just saying this from our heart. We're going to God because we always want to honor God. So those are some charts that you can use as well. Can you see how using Bible verses can make character building easier than what you're doing now? If so, leave something in the chat. That would be awesome. Another one of our students, Lisa, just said, Carrie, I could never figure it out. I wanted a Christian perspective. Thank you for bringing this all together. What would be an example of a blessing? That is a great question. Well, one thing is like if they're making peace and it was 2 in the afternoon, I may say, hey, you get to choose what movie we're watching tonight. Or, hey, let's have a special dessert. What would you like for dessert? The whole kit, the toolkit actually comes with a list of blessings, suggested blessings and consequences. And yes, verses have a higher standard. Yes, Heather Morehouse. I'm going to give you one of those books too, because we are all accountable to God. Okay, let's move on. First thing, foundation character. To lead tomorrow, you must learn today. So I have a question for you. If they need to learn today so they can be leaders tomorrow, how would you define a love of learning? Leave something in the chat and let me know what a love of learning is to you. This is something that I think is so important because leaders are lifetime learners. And in order to be a lifetime learner, you need tools of learning and a love of learning as well. Yes, these verses are for parents too. As you put something, finding answers you don't know, when a child can explore, not even realizing you're learning a lifestyle. Yes, this is our she's 8 years old now, but she was 3 years old back at the time, Faith. Her parents are painting a room in their house. I took her away. We went to, she had an Easter egg hunt. She rode a pony for the first time. She held a bunny. She got a train ride. She got her face painted. And right before we left, she got those chickens and she was feeding the chickens. It was just a day of curiosity and asking questions the entire time. She's a toddler. Toddlers and preschoolers, I think, are the perfect picture of love of learning. They just drive us crazy because they're always asking why. They're always asking why because you have 30 years of experience. You already know the answers. You're like, duh. Isn't that obvious? But no, they seriously don't know the answers. So give them patience and answer their questions. Too often they turn 5 years old. We put them at a desk or a kitchen table with a stack of books and say, okay, now it's time to learn. And you just do this. You strangle out their love of learning. Learning is much more than going to homeschool. I've seen a bunch of answers. I don't have time to read all of them, but thank y'all for putting those in there. We need to realize learning is not school books. Learning is learning new things and being curious, and us moms being patient with our kids. So how can we encourage a love of learning? And if y'all have ideas on how to encourage a love of learning, oh my gosh, put them in the chat and y'all share them with each other. My first thing is, do your kids love learning? Do you love learning? So the first thing is modeling. Are you modeling your own love of learning? Or are you modeling a love of the social media on your phone? Whatever you spend the most time doing, your kids see it. And that is what is going on. And I love learning. My kids know it. I can tell you stories of when they'd walk into someone's house and go, oh, my mom would love your library, because they knew I love books and I love to read. So if you are modeling this, it can reduce the stress for you and for your kids. Be enthusiastic about your learning because you need to remember more is caught than taught. What I mean by that, we need to continue to expose our kids to good things. There's a picture here and you're going, okay, why is that impressionist there? Well, this is a story about Hunter. He's about 6 years old and we were driving to Houston to go to a museum. I drive into the parking lot and his response is, oh, no, not this museum. He thought we were going to the health museum where you walk in the mouth and you watch the lungs breathing and you get on the exercise bike and whatever else. I said, okay, Hunter, we got a Monet exhibit. Here's some headphones. This is long before earbuds. Headphones. I want you to listen to 3 paintings. And when you're finished, right next door in this same museum is a Star Wars exhibit. So he did listen. Did he love it? No. Fast forward 10 years. We are in London. We were working a conference. We told the kids, if you come and you help us work the conference, we'll stay for a week and sightsee, because none of us had been to London. And one day I wanted to go to the National Gallery of Art, and there was only one person in my family that would go, Hunter Beck. I share this story to say it takes time for them to start loving learning. Give yourself patience and grace if it's not all working and falling into place. Give your children time, patience, grace. That was 10 years beforehand. I went to visit him after college. He was working in Spain for 3 months, and he didn't like history as a kid, and he loved going through the cathedrals and whatever else we went through. I tell you that, especially if you have young children, there is hope. All right. And you are doing a good job. Keep up the good work. Keep just taking one step at a time. So that's one suggestion. The other is a very, very simple daily activity that you can do with your kids to encourage a love of learning. It is called reading aloud. I read aloud to my kids until they were out of high school and they were off doing their own thing. When we read aloud daily, and this was every day, first thing we did after breakfast when we started homeschooling, because if I didn't do it first thing, it didn't get done or I fell asleep reading after lunch. Um, Reading aloud builds relationships. It can grow a love of learning, a love of books, and I highly encourage you to use good quality classics that have rich language, good values, and morals in them as well. I also would encourage you to rotate the books if you have more than one child, because Gentry would listen to any book I read. Ashley only liked history, and Hunter only liked water books. Seriously, like Swiss Family Robinson. That was it. The rest of the time, I go, what do we read? I don't know. I don't have a clue. So again, there's hope. All three of my kids are readers. They're adults. Now, I didn't make them sit as perfect little angels. They might have some sketchbooks. They may have Legos, anything that was quiet. And folding laundry, we always did twice a week during our read aloud time. I love read aloud and I love encouraging a love of learning, because when your kids love learning, it gives your children the freedom to grow up and be able to learn whatever they need to learn. So that is really cool as well. I will tell you, yeah, we're just gonna go there. All right, so step one is character foundation. Step two is inspiring a lifetime of learning. Let's move to step three. I know we've got some teenage moms, and so I will say, if you're having a hard time not letting your kids do what interests them, you need to go back to hopping off that conveyor belt, because you're stuck on that conveyor belt. I'm not saying that to be mean or anything, but you may just have to really de-school your brain. I had to do that myself and realize I don't need a checklist. We'll talk about that on biggest mistakes moms make. All right, step three is a personal growth plan. This is more, I would say, for older kids. So some of these ideas you can do with younger, but independently, it will be for older kids. So if your kids don't have character, start there, but then move on up. First thing, you need to set aside a time for learning. And for us, that was in the morning. We just spent our time focusing on homeschooling. We would have our Bible family devotions at breakfast very first, and then we would move into homeschooling. Then we would file quickly what you learned. We did this by keeping audiobooks definitely count. Um, and I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around. I got so much to cover and I'm watching the clock and I'm like, come on, Carrie, keep moving. Okay, so I am trying to answer your questions. And if I don't answer your questions, we'll have a Q&A at the very end. File quickly what you learned. We did this by writing about whatever it was we learned. Each of my kids in high school had a reading journal, and every day they read, they had to write one page about it. This is not narration, just telling the story back. This is going deeper, and this is answering those how and why questions and giving opinions. And then we wanted to apply quickly what we learned, so we would discuss once a week whatever book we were all reading together. I believe this writing and discussing really increases critical thinking skills, because we're going beyond just literal and we're talking about ideas within a book. And a book, it's really easy. You can apply this to newspapers and movies, but I highly recommend starting with a book that your kids are interested in. This is we'll go to that. This is what I call the read, write, discuss method. For us, when our kids were in high school, they read every day during 5 days, every day, and they wrote one page in their reading journal about whatever it was they read. And then once a week, we would have a discussion about their readings and their writings. Now, I will tell you, if you want to start this, the easiest place to start it is with a read aloud book. Because if you're reading it aloud to everyone, then everyone's on the same page and they're all writing about it and they can all discuss it. So that is one thing. The other thing I really like about this is it gives you freedom to think about any and all topics. You can study science, literature, history, musicians, art, all sorts of things, just by reading every day, writing every day, and having a discussion once a week. I also think it's important that we maintain this growth plan with a close relationship with God. This works just the same way for many people that sign up for Bible studies. They sign up for a Bible study, they go home and they read their Bible every day and they write whatever they're studying. And then once a week, they go back and they talk about it. And so that is what I think this is important. So we want to maintain that as well. Now, I had one of my students, Shelley, and she was like, I did not think discussions were important at all, Carrie. And taking your course, I realized you could have a discussion about any book, the Bible, a newspaper, a movie, wherever. Your course completely changed my mindset. Thanks so much. And she's also said mentoring has helped her as well. So step one is character. Step two is love of learning. Step three is a personal growth plan. But then where do we start, moms? Where do we start? Some of y'all are trying to hop off that conveyor belt. How do we give them an education that we did not receive ourselves? I am so glad you asked. We start with you, Mom. Don't worry about your kids right now. There is no education but self-education, according to Charlotte Mason. Most of you have probably heard of her. You've got to start with your own education and give yourself your own leadership education. How will that work? First, you need to develop your own personal growth plan. And right now is the perfect time. Most of you, even if you school year round, things get a little slower, a little easier through the summer. So I would encourage you to do this, your own personal growth plan. Model it for your kids. We've already talked about the importance of modeling. They will see you reading and writing. You could, so you need to choose a classic and then read every day, write every day, discuss. Tell one person, your spouse, a friend, or even your kids at the lunch table what you're reading about once a week. Practice this over the summer. Do not give your kids a personal growth plan until you have read at least 3 or 4 classic books yourself. You can start with a kid's book, like, Little House on the Prairie or The Hobbit or whatever interests you. But after one, you need to move to a teenage book, and then I would move to an adult book. And you've got time to do this right now. So I would encourage you to do this and practice it. Don't give your kids a personal growth plan until you have actually tried it out yourself, because you need to know what it feels like on an adult level to read an adult book and the frustration you may run or challenges you run into on your own reading level. It will give you sympathy and empathy for your child that's in 4th grade that's having a hard time. And you think, it's so easy. Why can't you figure this out? You've got 30 more years language experience. Give them patience and grace. All right. Another one of our students, like, I think this is, yeah, see, I don't have all my slides. Okay. Firm foundation of godly character, inspire lifetime learning, personal growth plan, start with you, your education. Cherry is one of my other students, and she was like, Carrie, I'm so glad, because there is nothing really out there with practical ideas for mentoring your kids. I want to read what she wrote me. I felt like a lone horse on a deserted trail. Everyone else that I know that homeschools is on the conveyor belt to keep up with the public education counterpart. Thank you for being a voice in the desert that will give guidance to us many lone horses that are headed your way. Just such vivid language that I had to actually share that. If y'all have classic books that you have been reading that you love, put them in the chat. And why don't y'all share some of those as well? And I have some, but that would just take away and I would not finish this on time. So those are our 4 steps. Let's talk about good old mom. But the Lord said to her, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all the details. Now, can you relate? I can. When my kids were home, even now, I get worried and I want that control hand. I want to control it all. And God says, no, you're worried and upset over all the details. Trust in me. Mary did choose the better thing. So let's talk about our mistakes. I believe some of the biggest mistakes that mom makes is focusing on productivity and that checklist, having a checklist mentality. And on that checklist mentality, it's not checklists are bad, but you're depending on someone else's checklist instead of developing what's best for your family. You're more worried about productivity and being able to say they finish, algebra and Middle Ages and whatever else. And we need to realize that that is not always true education. That's just going through a process, and that is on the conveyor belt. So how can we get off of that productivity mindset and the checklist mentality like Martha was on? I would say the first thing is relax. Seriously, take a deep breath. Whenever you get frustrated, seriously, take a deep breath. That oxygen can calm your nerves. Relax and enjoy your children. They are only there for a short time. Build relationships. I am so thankful for our homeschooling years because we built such great relationships with our kids. My kids are 30 to 35, and I have a good relationship with every single one of them. Relax. All right. Next is rest. Like, actually, number one, rest, like get some sleep. If you are not getting sleep, then that's the first thing. But next, rest in the Lord. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Let God tell you what you need to do. And I will just tell you, one of my students, Helen Hockley, we had an interview a month or so ago. She lives in England. And I had some questions for her about our course. And she said, Carrie, you know what makes your course different than any other course? And I'm like, no, what? She says, faith. She says, you encourage your moms to rest in God, to trust in God, to go to Him for the answers. And that gives them the confidence and the strength to hop off that conveyor belt. And I really believe that's true. I didn't come out planning to do that in my course, but that is really what has happened as well. So you need to rest in God. Go to Him. He's got all the answers more than I do. Then we want to rejoice. Let's look at the good things that are going on in our lives and not get so worried and upset about the things that aren't falling into place. Keep a gratitude journal every day. At least tell God one or two things that you can say thank you for. When you relax, rest, and rejoice, you can build relationships and you can gain freedom and confidence as a homeschool mom. So, which one of these, relax, rest, or rejoice, would help you the most right now, wherever you are? Put something in the chat and let me know. And I love all these books that y'all have been talking about, So what would help you the most? Relax, rejoice, and read aloud's in there too. I tend to need all of them to be perfect. Yeah, someone said all three. That's me. So, all right. At this point, I have a question for, oh, wait, here. Let's go through it. Character, lifetime learning, growth plan, and start with you. At this point, I have a question for you. Would you like me to help you gain confidence and freedom to give your children a Christian education with leadership skills? I think there are two options right now. You can try to create a Christian leadership education plan on your own using the 4 steps that I have shared with you, but you may run the risk of being in the same place this time next year with a big open loop and no plan to give your children the better education. Or option 2, you can 100% commit to focusing on Christian leadership education with a proven plan. If you're ready to build confidence and freedom in your homeschool efforts, confidence to hop off there, and the freedom to make the good choices that God's showing you in your homeschool and follow a proven plan, I invite you to join me inside our Raising Leaders, Not Followers course. What in the world is that? It is the only leadership education course of its kind from a Christian perspective. There are many leadership things out there, but I have found very few that come specifically from the Christian perspective and specifically for homeschool moms, that will show you exactly how to build godly character, lifetime learners who can think critically, biblically, and make wise decisions as they glorify and honor Jesus Christ. I want to tell you about Angie Bardos, and then I'm going to show you exactly what's in here. But she is one of our students. She homeschooled in COVID and said, never again. I am not doing this again. It was horrible, and I wanted to send them back to school. But one of her kids really wanted to stay home. I think there was some bullying or something involved. And she told me, she goes, Carrie, I did it for 1 year. I think maybe I could do it for another year. It certainly can't get worse. But I wasn't really fully on board. Our year was terrible. Well, she started doing some researching and came across my course. She goes, I have no idea how I found you, but it was a God thing. And she said, when I saw what you were doing, I thought, this is the lady I want to follow. And she told me, she goes, Carrie, what I really learned from you is education is more than just academics. It is really about God and putting Him first, as she would be able to fulfill God's purpose for her and for her children. The more that she saw of what I was teaching, she told me, she goes, I said to myself, yes, this is what I want to do. If I'm going to homeschool, this is what I want it to look like. So she went from never wanting to homeschool ever again to actually having a model that works for her kids. It gives her purpose, content, and encouragement so she can move forward with a homeschool that's truly effective for her kids. And she's been homeschooling now. She's had finishing up her third year as well. So that's super encouraging. Well, what's in it? I'm not going to read this. Take just a second, skim, see the little things that maybe will help you the most. But there are many things, and this is just a fraction of them. Let me just tell you that in module 1, we're going to go through our 5-step formula to Christian leadership education. This gives you a clarity and a path to walk on, fast track to being intentional with the direction God wants you to take your kids, being confident that you know where you're headed from kindergarten to 12, and the most critical tools for you to hop off that conveyor belt. Some of y'all have been talking all about how do I do that. I do think the things I've shared today, if you can focus on those can help you hop off the conveyor belt. But we just dive deeper here. And this also can help you give your kids a personalized education, even with multiple kids. Character is foundation. We're going to talk about the number one most important quality you should instill in your kids so they become leaders. Dump the bad attitude and begin afresh with a new attitude. I will tell you, after module 2, my friend Helen Hockley told me, Carrie, I'm in marketing, and I was very skeptical after some of the emails and everything. I signed up, but I was skeptical. And she says, but after 2 weeks, 2 modules, I was like, this is it. I am so thankful I invested in there. And so here I was like, oh, that's good. She is like, you really know your stuff and you are making a difference, and you have made a difference in my life as well, and helping me to really trust God to move forward. That was after just 2 weeks. She just told me that a few weeks ago. I was quite encouraged. All right. Inspire your kids to love learning. We want you to absolutely nail it to make learning fun. I've shared 2 strategies today. We have 17 strategies in our leadership course. Next, we want to give you those tools of learning. We're going to help you jump off the conveyor belt public school system with tools of learning that have been used for centuries. Really, they go back to the Greek and Roman time period. It's only in the last 100 years with Woodrow Wilson that we've changed things. You'll be able to use this strategy so your child excels for the rest of his life. Thinking skills for leaders, that read, write, discuss. We want to give you ways to help you kids write about their book when they have no idea what to write about. We're going to give you tips on leading discussions when you are totally unsure of yourself. You don't have a master's in English literature or something. We've got you covered there. And then 6, graduate kids with decision-making skills for life. In this module, we share 7 secrets to share with your teens so they will make wise decisions as well. Then we have 3 weeks of implementation. Here's how it works. All right. We've got week 1 here, module 1, week 2, module 2. Then we have an implementation week right here. That gives you time to either catch up or implement some of the things you're learning. Then the next 2 weeks are modules 3 and 4, and then implementation, catch up or implement, 2 more weeks, and then a last week of implementation as well. If you were to master these skills, where would you and your kids be a year from now? Leave something in the chat and let me know if these became true in your homeschool, where would you be a year from now? One of my other students, Rose, said she taught her kids how to think logically with our course. And she loved all my real life stories. But the thing that I think about Rose is she goes, Carrie, I loved your PDFs because I could print them out, put them in a 3-ring binder. I may not need them right now, but I may need them a year from now, because she's a student from several years ago. So when she needs something, she just pulls the binder out and there it is. She has lifetime access to it as well. And she can watch the videos. Planning together and enjoy experiential learning, that's great. Enjoying and looking forward to school sounds like a dream come true. So I really think it made a difference in my school when we landed on this. I will just tell you. The whole value is $197. But I want you to know we do give lifetime access, and that is priceless, I believe. Then we also have some bonus gifts as well. Help for the Harried Homeschooler. These are printable schedules, lists, printables, and helps for raising leaders. We have 3 book lists. Really, there's about 5. The children's one's got about 3 different ones for children, teen, and adult. And so some of y'all were asking at the beginning, what classic books, and y'all look like you had a ton of great ideas. Actually, I'm going to put those in my Facebook group and share some of them. But here's a whole list. I mean, there are hundreds on this list that you can go with. I do give a risk-free guarantee, but I'm only looking for serious action takers. You need to show that you've given the course a try before requesting a refund. I do this because I'm not really looking for tire kickers, but true go-getting moms, which I know you are because you are here and you have shown up live to get results. And if you do the work and you're still not satisfied, show me your work within 14 days of the course opening, and I will gladly give you a refund as well. So this means you really can't lose. You've worked through the first 2 modules and give it a test drive. And if it doesn't work, it's not a fit for you, ask for a refund. And another one of our bonus is where we actually started this whole thing. I wrote this book, Raising Leaders, Not Followers, many years ago, and that was the beginning. It teaches leadership education, character building, love of learning, and transitioning to independence. Then I wrote this thinking one, which was more older kids, colleges, internship. And then I got moms to participate and tell me their ideas, real life tips and tricks from homeschool moms. Now you can get these 2 in Amazon, but the only way you can get the real life tips and tricks is in our course. But this is a bonus ebook gift set that we offer as well. So that's the whole value of the course. But some of you are going, I would really like some help from you personally, like we've been talking here. And I am going to answer some Q&A. Give me just about 2 or 3 more minutes, and I'll bring this to a close. So you're going to get 4 weeks of live group coaching. It starts on June 2nd, a week from Friday. And then every implementation week, I will go live in our Facebook group. Helen told me the most helpful parts of the course, Carrie, were videos and PDFs and the live group coaching, because the group coaching, I could get my questions answered quickly. She'd work for 2 weeks and come with her questions. Now I'll go quickly with these. These are some video trainings. Quit trying to homeschool. Too many of you are going, I'm trying to start training for success. And we're going to give you a training model that you could follow. My friend Meredith, if you have kids that don't like to read or even learn, you could use some of these ideas. Raising kids who love to read. She's got some trainings on that as well. My other friend, Amber Smith, is going to talk about organization, scheduling, and time management. She should know. She has 10 kids, so she surely knows how to do that as well. And then I forgot to change the thing. Homeschool Superheroes is this summer, July 24th through the 28th. You will receive a VIP Summit ticket. We have over 50 experts, about 100 sessions, and you have for live to watch. In fact, you get to start watching them early on July 10th. You'll also get our VIP bundle, which is only for VIPers. You'll get a swag bag as well. So that is a special bonus. And I am actually reviving our Facebook group. I have not done this for over a year, and I decided, nope, this summer we are going to do this. I will be in and out of the Facebook group. I'm going to get some of our alumni to be in there. This is where you can get questions answered outside of the group coaching. So, and if you sign up today, you get my End Procrastinations toolkit. These are some videos, my 21 ideas list, and then a checklist to help you as well. Now, all of that's worth $17.63. But I know that that's too much. I know that y'all are on budgets, and I know my homeschool moms very well. And so I know I could charge a lot more, but we are going to have a one-time fee of $197, or you can make 4 payment plans of $54 and get in. You can go to howtohomeschoolmychild.com/RLNF, Raising Leaders, Not Followers, if you want to go ahead and sign up. But this is truly something that I have seen, as you've heard stories today. It's a course that's changing homeschool moms. It's helping them get off that conveyor belt and doing something different, not for difference sake, but to give their kids a better education. However, I know for some of you that is even a steep price. And so that was one of the reasons I've been on the call with Helen. She and I were working on some of this. So I've decided to offer something I have not offered, and it is called my No Frills package. It's only $127 or 3 payments of $47. And this is how it works. You'll get all 6 modules. You'll get all the videos for the modules. You'll get all the workbook pages. You will also get our first group coaching on June 2nd. I forgot to include that on there, which brings it up to $247 in value. this is more of an independent study. So you wouldn't get all the support, but you could work through this independently. Some of you are independent learners, and this is all you need. This would be what you could do. It's just called my no frills package. But some of you would prefer the VIP with all the bonuses as well. So those are the two options. I do have, if anyone that pays in full for either one of those packages will receive my drama-free mom bundle. Diane told me, even though she already had Drama-Free Mom, she was one of my original founding members. She said, Carrie, give them the Drama-Free Mom bundle. This is what quickly changed my public school mindset and daily routines to make my family's weekly homeschool schedule run a lot smoother. If you are having a hard time jumping off that conveyor belt, she's saying this is something that really helped her. She goes, everyone in leadership education needs this to help them. So you get the ebook, and then you get 3 of our trainings. If you do decide to join on the masterclass right now, I'll also give you a $10 Amazon gift card. And you're going, well, what can I buy for $10? Well, let me tell you, you can buy a classic book for your kids to start critical thinking, a classic book for your own education, buy a fun learning toy, or buy your next read aloud book. There are a lot of things on Amazon that are less than $10 that you could also get. So this is what we have to offer: raising leaders, not followers, and the 2 levels. Now we're going to come to the Q&A section. Before we do, I want you to just think for a second, why did you show up today? Maybe you feel stressed out, pulled in so many directions, you just simply need some help. The separate web page, no, you do not need a separate web page. Everything's on that one web page. Why did you show up today? Maybe your kid's attitude's driving you crazy. Maybe you are one of those grandmas and you're like, hey, it has been 3 decades since I've been worried about kids and education, and I need help. I don't know exactly why you showed up, but I want you to remember, and I want you to sort of think, would raising leaders, not followers, help you bust through all the sticking points that have stopped you from hopping off that conveyor belt? Your fear of failing your kids because you're unsure of what really works in homeschooling. But if you still haven't signed up for Raising Leaders, maybe you have some doubts. Maybe you think, I can create my own plan. And I hear you, that's where I was, and that's what I did. And I had to do something different. I had to formulate my own plan, and it took me at least 5 years. Rest assured, we will give you the step-by-steps and a proven plan that will take you in by the hand from kindergarten to 12th grade. And I know some of you are thinking, I can't spend the money. All right. And I understand, especially in these times of uncertainty. But consider this perspective. Let's just say you have 1 kid left and they're 9th grade. That means you have 4 years left, and you buy the 127. That is $30 a year prorated, let's say. And I promise you that I will walk with you holding your hand over the next 9 weeks so you're successful and start giving your kids the education that they deserve so they can make wise decisions as adults. Or you're saying, oh, and by the way, if money's tight, you can always do the payment plan too. And that really makes it smaller. Maybe you're saying, I can do it alone at home. And that might be true. But I will tell you, the support that we will give you and the support that I will give you really helps people. I believe community is everything. So here we are, my friends. We've come to the end. It's time to answer your questions. I'm going to open it up to any questions that you have. I know a few of them went by and I wasn't able to answer them. So if you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat and I will be watching for that. Some of you have sent me some questions individually. I'm going to answer those first, but I will be looking for generic ones, to everyone as well. And I do want to go back and just say, do we need the separate web pages? No, when you go to howtohomeschoolmychild.com/RLNF, you will scroll down through a lot of information because I describe all those modules in detail, and you'll come to a place where there are 3 boxes across: a green one for VIP, a blue one for no frills, and then a pay in full. The pay in full does take you to the VIP. So if you want the VIP, go to the green box or an orange button. If you want the no frills one, find a blue box on that page, and that will help take you to where you need to go. I want to do better. Yes, I get you there. And I will say, this is a biblical way. I am going to intersperse my faith throughout every single one of those modules. That is who I am. And I would say too, if your kids are followers, there is a balance because we all need to be followers. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And so that is a good thing. I want my kids to know how to follow, but I also wanted them to think for themselves. They may not be CEOs or governors or even an elder on the elder board, but they're all going to pretty much 99% of them be moms and dads. They need to know how to lead well, how to think critically, how to think biblically, how to make wise decisions. And I believe these 4 steps can really help kids do that and moms as well. So, and if you're looking for a Christ-centered foundation, I truly believe that is what we offer here. It is not how to teach math, but you can use these principles in every subject area as well. Can you please go over how this program will work as far as process meetings? Yes, I can. Thank you. And I know I was going quickly through that. Here is, there is a Facebook group, and some of you may not be on Facebook, and I get it. That is something that will stay on Facebook, and that is just interaction. But the group coaching will always happen in our Zoom meeting and Facebook. So if you prefer to not join in Facebook, you can join in Zoom and you can still have your questions answered, and we still have a chat just like we're having now. If you prefer to join me on Facebook, you can do that. So we have both sides of it. So what will happen is this is next week on June 2nd, everyone, VIP or no frills, can come to the group coaching in Zoom if they want to. Then that following Monday on June 5th, we will open up Module 1. And in your members area, you'll get Module 1. And you'll work through that on your own. You can talk about it in the group, the Facebook group, if you have that. Next week, Module 2, week 2, on whatever date that is. The following week, there is no module. Actually, we give you one of the bonuses, Raising Kids to Love Reading. And that week is implementation. That is a chance for you to implement some of the things. What I find is too many people buy a whole course and it's all right there and you don't, it's way too overwhelming. We are giving this to you in bite-sized chunks that I think moms can do. So you can work on the first week, work on the second week, and then try to put some of it into practice. And then we'll have our group coaching call for those of you on the VIP. You can do the group coaching call and we will have interaction there. You'll also get the stuff about reading as well. And then we will go to the next week. So the following week will be module 3, and then the next week, module 4, and then the following week, another implementation. If you get behind, then you can use those implementation weeks to catch up before we have our coaching call. That's the beauty of it. And then again, we'll do weeks for 5 and then 6 and then implementation and coaching. And the Get Control of Schedules is released during the second implementation week. So basically it's 2 weeks of modules, a week off, implement. It's not a week off, you need to put it into practice. Then it's 2 weeks and then a week implementing. Then it's 2 weeks, 2 modules, and then a week after that. So I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know. I meant to put my video back on so I could talk and see y'all a little bit. How long are the Zoom meetings usually? That is really up to the group. I am answering questions. What I will normally do is do a 5 or 10 minute little introduction. If you have specific questions, we will have a Google form that you can fill out ahead of time. And if we have lots of them, it will never be more than 1 hour. Like this is more than 1 hour. My apologies. But it will never be more than 1 hour. And so let's say we have 8 people that sign up. Each person will get like 45 minutes and we'll sort of do a one-on-one thing, and y'all can zoom in and chat about whatever that topic is. But I will start out with a few comments about whatever the topics are you're working through. What times and days? I can do that too. The first group coaching call is on Friday because the end of, I will just tell you, no one's asked this question. You have to sign up by next Wednesday and then we close it. We just opened it today. So we sign up on Wednesday. If you miss Wednesday, the next big launch like this is next May. We may have a few flash sales during the year, but as far as the big launch, I have found that moms have time in the summer to actually work through this. And so that's one reason I've sort of positioned it where I am. So Next week, Wednesday, the cart closes and you can't sign up after Wednesday. And then Friday, we all meet together, Zoom or Facebook. Then all the other group coachings are Wednesday afternoons at 3 o'clock Central Time. I guess I could write that in here. Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Central Time. That is just what I have been doing for other groups. And so that just sort of helps me stay focused. I already teach classes on Monday in my big group Facebook. And then Tuesday, I'm sort of catching up. So Wednesdays are a good day. Plus, it gives you a few extra days to try to implement and see what's working and what you have questions for. Is there a recording? Oh, yes. Live meetings. There's always a recording. They will be put in your members. Excuse me, they will be put in your members area as well. And so what will happen is you will have a members area. As soon as you sign up, you'll be taken to that members area. And right now you already have the instant bonus, quit trying to homeschool. You will already have, if you're VIP, if you're no frills, you will have a couple things open just telling you about the course and what to do. If you're a VIP, you will have this quit trying to homeschool, start training. You will have all of these ebooks as well as the printables and the classic book list. So those are there for you. So tomorrow or the 31st is the last day to buy the program. Okay, good question. The 31st is the last day to buy the program. We have a today only, well, and I'll just give you a clue. Tomorrow it will be open. I have one more class tomorrow. So the end procrastination, that bonus, you can get today and tomorrow. That's it. It disappears after that. But I will tell you, I also have surprise bonuses coming up. We have one this weekend, Memorial Day bonus. So if you were to sign up today, you get all the bonuses that I offer for the rest of until next Wednesday. If you wait and sign up on Wednesday, then you've missed them. But it's really up to you. I am not a big salesperson thing like that. So the last day to actually get in the course is May 31st. To get the bonus and to get all the bonuses that I'm offering, you need to sign up by tomorrow night. I have to work Wednesdays. Can I submit? Yes, you can submit questions in advance, and yes, you can listen and later. Definitely. I would love that to hear the questions. I want to help you where you are. We will have some alumni. The alumni are always invited to our group coaching. That means if we have group coaching in the fall or next, whenever the next group coaching is, you will be invited to that as well. And I know some people that don't get paid till close. Oh, definitely till the weekend, or some people don't get paid till the end of the month. So that's one reason we end on the 31st. So you have all the way until the 31st to do this. And if you know people that are interested in this topic, let them go sign up, and they could come tomorrow. I have a class at 11 a.m. Central Time, or if they miss those, we will be sending out a replay as well. Let's see. Wednesday, 3 p.m. is on Facebook and Zoom at the same time. Yes, because my Zoom, you can stream it into the Facebook, and I would use my phone, and I keep up with Facebook here and Zoom on my computer as much as I can multitask. But yes, and that way, even if you're on the live, you could, if you didn't fill something out and you have a question, you can still put it in there and we can talk about that as well. Let me see what other questions I have not answered. If there's anything else, let me know. I will, a couple questions. I do want to reiterate, because usually people say, do I have to sign up now? Yes, if you want to join this group, you need to sign up, because once it ends, I am into y'all and I am here to help you for the next 9 weeks. I don't need people bouncing in and out at different times. We need to all be together working through this so that I can help you to the best of my ability. I've had a few other people ask, what else do I need to see results in Embracing Leaders, Not Followers? Actually, everything that's in this course is the training that you need. As far as money, we are big on books. So you can spend no money and go to the library and get classic books, but you may want to buy some books. So I don't know where you are on that. We are also big on hands-on activities and getting that love of learning and encouragement. For me, I already had a bucket of art supplies and science supplies and all of that. to go to a Dollar Tree and buy a few things here and there. That is all up to you, and it is all optional. But those are the kinds of things that you would need. You would need to buy some reading journals too, if you have teenagers and you begin to do that. I would like to say about reading journals, remember, go through your personal growth plan this summer and then teach it to your kids. Okay. Don't go telling your kids personal growth plan. Do it this summer on your own. Start today or tomorrow. Go get a reading journal and do it. And then you'll know what it's like. And then you can teach it to your kids in the fall time as well. Can we join Facebook group, or is that for people who purchase? The Facebook group is for the people. It's just the students that are going through the material. So it's not something that you could buy or join as well. It's just sort of a private Facebook group for my Raising Leaders students. And I started one about 1.5 years ago, and I just was not keeping up. So I closed it, but I've had people interested. So I've decided I'm going to reopen it. But again, it is for our students because they are all on the same page and have gone through the same training. But that's a really good question, Carrie. Thank you. Any other questions? Y'all have got great questions. Let me tell you. Okay. How to homeschoolmychild.com/RLNF. I do know we already have some new students. Miranda and Alicia this morning have already bought, because they are some of my boot campers, and I did my boot camp this morning. And so we already know if you join, you've already got some friends in there. The Facebook group will be open starting tomorrow. I still need to do a few things to get it up and going, but don't worry about that. We'll start doing some welcome things and maybe even talking about books and what you're learning. The ebooks will be able to be read in any device. If it is a PDF format, Cynthia. And so if you can read a PDF on your device, then yes, you can read it. It's not set up like Kindle or anything like that. So yes, you can read it on PDF formats. Any questions? Any more questions before I leave? Perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. My pleasure. I just have to say thank you. Y'all were awesome, so patient and so encouraging to me. This is one of the best, I'll be honest, this is one of the best classes that I've had. So I really appreciate y'all being here. If you have any questions, you're welcome to send me an email. And if you have any friends that missed it, invite them to tomorrow's class as well. So thanks so much. I am Carrie Beck with How to Homeschool My Child and Raising Leaders, Not Followers. Y'all have a great day.